Hello everyone, I'm a student at Flushing High School and you're listening to Dreams Across Borders, a Flushing High School podcast. This podcast is where we share stories about moving, growing, and everything in between. In this episode, I will be sharing something different, a story of my dad. I will share my dad's journey of migration and how he moved to US and connected to my own journey. This journey is not just about crossing distances. It is about the efforts that lead us to come together to shape who we become and who we are. So let's get into it. Every migration story has a beginning, and for my father, that beginning was shaped long before he was born by events that uprooted a nation and reshaped a people. From what I know about my dad's story, I know he was born in India, but I never really asked him about how our family first ended up there since we are not Indians. Even though my father was born in 1974, the story has its start in 1959. That was the year of unrest. The invasion of Tibet by the Chinese had begun, and along with it, waves of doubt, violence, and fear. His parents, along with many others, had fled their homeland and had entered India, seeking asylum in a foreign land. Their experience was one of pain, of the emotional rather than the purely physical. They had to abandon everything, their lifestyle, all their belongings, their home forever. In India, they had new struggles upon their hands, new tongues, an unfamiliar climate, and a society that did not always see them as one of their own. Despite the odds being against them, they began to build a life there. They found employment and developed relationships with the individuals that treated them with kindness. They created a structure for a life that they never get to fully experience, a life that was my father's. My father was born in an Indian Tibetan refugee settlement, together with others with the same story as his parents. He was the sixth of six children, and they all learned of Tibet, not as a place they had ever lived, but as something that existed in the hearts of those that were older. Things improved with time. Schools, homes, and clinics were set up by the government of India and Tibetan community leaders. There were tiny miracles in a nation that was never home for them, but still became one of his own. He went to school in the settlement. My father believes he was a good student, and he was in certain subjects, but in reality, he often procrastinated, and his attention did drift during class. He did manage to graduate, though, and after a while, he became a teacher. Something about teaching was very fulfilling for him. He felt that he was able to contribute back to the community that has provided everything for him. That is how he met my mom. She was a fellow teacher who my dad believed was smart, lovely, and with a heart of gold. They started a life there in that school. My older brother was born later in life, and then came along me 6 years later. Things were a lot better by that stage. Their community had grown stronger, and in 2011, all of that changed. My mother died in a terrible accident. I was only 5 years old. That was the most challenging period in his life. Suddenly, a single parent, trying to raise two children while continuing to work. He switched to Delhi shortly afterward, with visions of improved opportunities and help. It was not easy for him to get accustomed. Urban life was swifter, harsher, and he had to do everything. Wake up early, get both of us, me and my brother, ready for school, cook, and go to work. There were certain periods in his life when he felt that he was unable to go on, but he had no choice. We both were his reason for being. He would later get acquainted with my future stepmom through his friends and families. By then, she had been in the US for several years and was already a US citizen. When my mom and my father got married, the possibility of traveling to the United States was real and overwhelming. It was not smooth. Everything got delayed due to the pandemic. He had tough decisions like letting my brother finish his college years in India while preparing me for a move to the US after 10th grade. For him, it was not a case of starting all over again here in the United States. It was entering a different world. Language was not the main problem for him. He was speaking English. But the lifestyle, the culture, the office culture, and all of those were different. The food, the way the people interact, even the simple small talk, everything was unfamiliar. There was rhythm in the work in India. He had his co-workers, there was community. Everything here was individualistic. He felt like he was in a perpetual catch-up, but he adjusted. He got to know other migrants, Tibetans, and others, and slowly he built a new network. Here, the support networks are different, but they are there. He found new ways of belonging, new ways of home. As he reflects, he understands that he has lived in three different worlds. The world of Tibet as it was in his parents' dream, the tough and occasionally harsh world of exile in India, and now this new world in America, which is a world of uncertainty but of promise. Every stage of his life taught him a lesson. In India, it was survival. In America, it was learning to adapt again, to open his heart to a new society while retaining the old. Well, this is his life, his journey, and he's learned a lot. Coming to the United States taught him what people mean when they speak of the American dream, that notion that if you work hard, one can create a better life. He's come a long way, but now he leaves it to me. He believes that now it's my turn to make my own way, to follow my heart and pursue my own dream. But he wants me to do two things to remember. Don't ever forget where I'm from. Don't ever forget my language, my culture. Sometimes when people try to fit in, we lose a part of ourselves, and he doesn't want me to ever lose a part of myself, because it's a part of who I am and a part of who he is. After hearing the story of my father's journey, it helped me see things on a deeper level and the reason for moving. This provided transparency, where I can now see through how my father's efforts has led us so far and how every inch of this effort made me who I am today. As for my own experience of migrating, I never really thought it would make much of a difference moving here in the US until I did. Maybe because I was not old enough to think much about anything other than the place I'm living at. On the other hand, my brother seems nervous yet excited about moving to a place far away from where we lived for years. He was the type to embrace new things and try whatever he seems to like, so that could pretty much explain his excitement towards this. On the day we decided to leave, I had to bid my farewell to all the people, my friends, my grandparents, who were there for me for all my childhood, whom I've shared a lot of memories and connections with. I was sad, but I did not cry, as crying would only make things harder for them and for me as well. So I saved my tears for my new place of arrival. Upon my arrival, the change I felt was not sudden, but a gradual one. As time passed, I felt more and more how different living is, and after finding the difference in culture and how diverse the place is, especially Queens, I also felt how isolated you can be if you don't try to connect with others, and how easy it is to connect with others if you try to open up to them, as most people tend to be friendly, but they are just too shy to initiate conversation. My experience here taught me a lot of things, and things that I wish I had learned sooner. I used to be timid as whenever a guest comes into our home, I would hide in my room and never come out until they leave. But seeing how bold and confident people express themselves without worrying about others' judgments grew a sense of confidence within myself. I was able to open up and interact with others without hesitation. Every connection I made gave me a path to walk on where I don't have to worry about this feeling of demure. With every one of those relationships that I formed, I could stand a little straighter. I learned that I didn't have to sacrifice some versions of myself, my language, my culture, my heritage, to be acceptable. I could bring all of it with me. Now looking back at my father's journey and my own, I see that though our lives are different, we share the same thread. He crossed great distances to make a new home, and now is my time to move ahead to forge something new and whole near the place I started. My father told me that I shouldn't forget where I came from, and I won't.
Thank you for listening to Dreams Across Borders, a Flushing High School podcast. This episode was written and produced by students at Flushing High School. In response to the current political climate, we have chosen to remain anonymous to ensure both safety of our participants and ensure their voices will be heard. If you enjoyed this episode, please take some time to donate to one of the following charities that provide services to refugees and immigrants in our communities. If you need legal advice or help, please reach out to these charities as well. International Rescue Committee, Doctors Without Borders, Refugees International, National Immigration Law Center, Make the Road New York, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees.